Hey, today we are going to talk about question 6. If you look at the screen, I have actually broken it down into two chunks, two sections of the question. Question 6. The first part of the question 6 is which locations and regions have the highest share of sales across product names and sales avenues? And then the second part of the question is which regional manager is the best performing across all regions? So to answer this question, we are probably going to use some sort of pivot tables to analyze sales performance by location, region, product name, and sales avenue. First, sales avenue was aggregated by region and location and converted into percentage share to identify the areas contributing the highest proportion of total sales. A further product level analysis shows that how sales dominance varies by region across different products and sales avenues. So in the second part of the question, which is part two, is the regional manager performance. It would be evaluated by comparing total avenues, total revenue, revenue share, and profitability across all regions. So by sorting overall revenue, and assessing consistency across multiple regions, the best performing regional manager would be identified. So this approach ensures performance is assessed not only by volume but also by regional coverage and financial contributions. So what we're going to do today is that I will try to make sure that this is the easiest possible way of solving the question. So first of all, just make sure that we are going to talk about the first part of the question 6. So in that sense, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the name of the sheet to question, sorry, we're going to do Q6, and I'm just going to put the name as question 6 part A. So so what we're going to do now is this is going to be fairly simple and easy to answer this question. So we can see that we have all the orders available in here. This data set is there. So make sure that I have changed the data. So my answers would be different to your answers, but the steps you can follow is actually going to identify the solution for you guys. Then we have the returns, then we have staff, and then we have shipping cost in here. So to make it easy, what I'm going to do is I click on staff and I'm going to copy this data and I'm bringing that into the orders, which is a main sheet because some of the data I'm going to use in here. So I'm just going to paste this one in here. So if you look at that one, well, you can paste it anywhere in your sheet, but to make it easy for myself, I'm just going to use that one in here. And I'm going to make it look more professional so we know that what we are going to talk about in here. So there are two columns which we are going to use in here. So let's dissect that column first. The first column is the column L. So we just wanted to make sure that the first value is at L2, which is this one. So I just highlight that one just to make it easy so I don't forget that. L2 is my first value, and then I bring it down in here and I can see that this is the last value, which is the L9995. Right. Similarly, we go into column, yeah, that's the column in here, which is column Q. And again, this is going to be Q2. I'm just highlighting it just in case that I don't forget that. And then the last value is Q995. Fantastic. So remember, we are going to use two columns. One is column L and one is column Q. Column Q is titled as sales revenue, and column L is entitled with the region. Okay, good. So we get back onto this orders, get back in here. And as I mentioned that I have copied and pasted in here. So what I'm going to do is just to make it myself easier, I am going to paste in here. So at the top, so just to make it easier for myself. And I'm going to delete this one. Sorry. Sometimes some of the keys really doesn't work in here, but good luck that is working in here today. So we get back in here, and then the third column I'm going to create for myself is the total revenue. So we wanted to see that how different regions in total are making the revenue. So for instance, I give a title as, for instance, total, sorry, my, there we go as Let's, for instance, I give a name to this as total revenue. Please make sure that you can actually put the name the way you want it to happen. So total revenue, and again, I'm just going to make sure that it looks professional in here. So here in this column, the first thing we are going to find out the total revenue of region West, and then same as East, Central, and South. So for this, we are going to use the formula as sum if. So equal, remember, any formula in Excel used to have equal before we can actually start typing the formula. Then you have sum if. Okay, once you have this formula, bracket start, so you can see there are three parameters to this. The first one is the range, then the criteria, and then the sum range. So in fact, there are three parameters. The first one is the range, the second one is the criteria itself, and the third one again is the range if we need to use that one. So range mean here is, if you remember just earlier I mentioned about two different columns in here. One was the L, one was the Q. So let's start with the L. So what I'm going to do now here is that I'm going to have L2 to L9995. Well, just to make it easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the capital letters so you can see that on the screen easily. L9995, that was the starting and the ending of the first range, first column, comma, and then criteria. Remember, if the criteria is in words then or in alphabets, we need to use colons or parentheses. So I am going to use the word West here because I'm looking for West area to find the total revenue for that. And then I press comma in here, and then the second range, the last range is, if you remember the previous column, it was the Q. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Q2 to Q9995. Okay, and then I have the bracket close, and then I press enter. I'm not pressing enter right now. I just wanted to review this formula. So the first one is the equal sign, then sum if, and then the first range of the column, and then the criteria in this case, which is the West. Try make sure that if West is in capital, so you match the alphabets in here, so exactly the same one, and then because it's the word, so we need to write that in the parentheses. And then the third says the second range of the parameters is, then you press enter, and then you can see there is a value appeared in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this one again, and I'm going to double click onto this one, and then we press this. So instead of having a West in here, I'm going to change this to, for instance, East. Okay, here we go. Similarly, I get back into this one. Please make sure that the writing you write in here is exactly similar to the searching criteria is the central, so central exact similar. And then you press enter, and then similarly you have this, and then the final is the South. Okay, so once you get to that stage, so half of the question 6 part A is almost done. Remember guys, your values could be different to mine one, so please make sure that you are not telling your values with mine ones. So what I'm going to do is, just to make it little professional, I'm just going to highlight it, and then I'm going to highlight select all of these values, and at the top you can see the auto sum value in here. You press this one, and then you can find the total value. So what I can do is that this is the total revenue across the regions. If you look at this one, so this is the total value across the regions, and this is the value of each region in here. So if we want to find out that what percentage of each region has contributed and figured out the total revenue, so what I can do is that I can actually have, we can use a similar table. That's absolutely fine, and I can actually use this table in here, and here we go. That is fine. So I delete that one in here, and here instead of this I can actually have, because now I'm going to figure out the percentage. So you can have different names like shares per region or percentage per region, but I'll just use the shares per region. Okay, let's, for instance, this is my given name. Right. So we get into this one. Now we have to find the percentage. So to find the percentage is very easy. So in real world, what we're going to do is that if you look at this value, which is the 725,457, I'm just going to highlight that into, for instance, the blue one. So this value divided by this yellow value, because to find the percentages, if you see in your normal exams, if you, let's say, get 40 out of 100, so the value achieved is 40 divided by the total value, which is the 100. That is in fact your percentage. So similarly, I'm going to do in here. So I'm just going to use equal sign in here. Remember, any formula in Excel you start is with equal sign. And then if you look at this one, okay, so before I actually implement the formula, I just wanted to see the cell location. So if you look at this one, if you click on to 725,457, you see this is the AC2, which is this one in here. On the left, AC2, and this one is AC6. Okay, brilliant. So AC2 and AC6 are the location of these cells. So I'm going to have equal, and I'm going to have AC2 divided by AC and then dollar sign and then 6. Here we go. So you can see these two cells have highlighted. And you click onto this one, you can find the value in there as well. And then I will probably drag and drop in here. And I can figure out that the values are in there. This is AC2, AC3. You can check at the top that the values are changing itself. This is AC3 now. Similarly, this is AC4, AC5. And then what you're going to do is that you can highlight all these values and then you right click and then probably you can find format cells and then you can find its percentage here. So this is the percentage decimal values too. Okay, and then now you can see that this is actually the shares per region. Once you are at that stage, what you need to do is now you can actually plot a graph. So for instance, we can have just with the region and the shares per region. So you click and insert, and then you can have a donut graph, right? And oh, you can have this one in here. So these are the shares per region, and we can have different values in here as well. So this is actually your first part of your question 6. So just once again, what you need to do is you need to, when you start your question, you need to actually go back into having this regional managers region data, get copy, and put that into in here. And then you have to add a column where you're going to calculate the what revenue each region has made, and the formula is given at the top, which is a sum if, and two columns you're using. One is the L2, sorry, one is the L and one is the Q. Obviously the range is from start till the end. And then once you have figured out all these values, then you can add them together using this auto sum formula. Once you have done that one, then you copy this table again, and then you can have a third column here, which is the shares per region, and you know how you're going to find the value of the percentage. Once you figured out the values, then you can have the shares per region. This is actually your some part of your question 6A. Okay, so I hope you will like this video and it is going to help you in completing your assessment. Remember, your answers are going to be different to mine, one but more or less similar steps you're going to use in here. And some students might like to use the pivot table to create all these values. So it's entirely up to you the way you want to do it, as long as the answer is similar. So I don't think that there is going to be any problem with that. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will come back shortly with the second part of the question. And good luck with your submissions. Thank you and take care.